Budget Android handhelds have gotten way better than they used to be. A few years ago, when you bought something in this price range, you usually had to accept a bad screen, bad controls, weird software, or performance that barely got past the basics. But the MANGMI Air X is a little different. This thing has a 1080 display, Android 14, Hall effect joysticks, microSD expansion slot, active cooling, and a form factor that doesn't feel like it made compromises. So here's what you get in the box, nice packaging. You've got the Air X itself, a USB cable, and they've included a screen protector as well. Nothing to complain about here on the packaging. So taking it out, you can already tell it's got a nice size to it. It's not like some of the other mini handheld emulators I've seen that are really popular. It's kind of in a middle area where it's not quite Steam Deck size, but it's still portable and the screen is large enough that PSP, game streaming, Android games, and just having a widescreen in general actually makes sense. Design-wise, I think MANGMI did a really good job here. Has a really clean and modern look. The orange just pops off of that white frame. The plastic shell feels about what I'd expect for this price. It's not metal, doesn't feel luxurious, but it does feel solid and it does feel well built. And I'd be comfortable enough throwing it into a bag. The weight's also nice. It doesn't feel empty or cheap, super light or anything like that, but it is light enough that you can carry it around easily. The controls are critical for a handheld emulator, right? Because with a lot of these budget handhelds, the specs can be fine, but if the controls don't feel good, then that ruins the whole thing. The Air X has Hall effect joysticks, nice to see at this price. They feel really smooth, and you know you're never gonna get drift with these, so that's a plus. The D-pad and face buttons are more of a personal preference thing. These feel usable, they're not amazing, but they're better than average and exceed what I would have expected at this price. So again, no complaints there for me. The D-pad and face buttons are better than what I'd expect. The trigger and shoulder buttons are implemented very well. The shoulder buttons are really clicky, they feel nice and tactile, and the triggers feel nice. They have a nice travel to it. The screen is the biggest highlight for me. It's got a 5.5 inch 1080 IPS display and it just looks really nice. The colors look good. It's got nice sharpness, and just navigating Android, launching emulators, playing games, even browsing or watching a video here and there, the screen makes the device feel more expensive than it is actually. Software wise, it's running Android 14, so the experience is basically what you'd expect from an Android emulation handheld. You can set up your emulators, launchers, streaming apps, Android games, cloud gaming apps, all of that. Because it's built on Android, you've got a lot of flexibility. You're not locked into one ecosystem. You can use it for emulation, Android gaming, remote play, Steam Link, Xbox cloud streaming, or I even use it as a tiny media device. So let's talk about the performance of the Snapdragon 662 processor in the Air X. Starting with PS2 emulation, Tekken is a great example. I like fighting games because you can feel slowdown immediately. If the timing starts to feel off, if the input feels delayed, then everything just feels bad, right? But on the Air X, felt smooth and responsive, and exactly what I was looking for. Marvel Ultimate Alliance is a little more chaotic. You have multiple characters on the screen, effects going off, enemies around, and just more happening. Felt very playable, and I was impressed with the performance. Dreamcast emulation was also better than I expected. Tokyo Extreme Racer 2, one of my favorite games from my childhood. If it's not running right, if the game stutters or feels inconsistent, it ruins that whole sense of speed, and everything felt great here. The game looked clean, motion was smooth, controls felt really responsive, and I just loved revisiting this game. Lastly, going back to PS1 with Final Fantasy VII, one of my top 5 games ever. This is basically easy mode for the Air X. PS1 is not really stressing the hardware, and it was really nice to dive back into FF7 and relive one of my favorite games of all time. And because this is still an Android device, you are not limited to just emulators either. You can install regular Android games, use cloud gaming apps, stream from your PC, watch YouTube, browse the web, check Discord, or even use it as a small media device. If you really want to stretch what this thing can do, you can plug it into a dock, pair a Bluetooth keyboard and mouse, and it basically turns into a little tiny Chromebook Lite setup. Obviously, I wouldn't use it as my main computer, but for basic browsing, YouTube, emails, handling documents, media, it works just fine. And while there's trade-offs in the setup for an Android handheld, This is one of the benefits you get with an Android. So even when you're not gaming, there's still some extra utility there. For power, it has a 5,000 milliamp hour battery. Obviously, the battery life will depend on what you're doing. Older systems will last longer, while PSP upscaling, Android games, streaming, high brightness, using Wi-Fi is going to drain it faster. There is active cooling in here, and for the level of hardware, it does help to keep things stable. It's not a completely silent, passive handheld, but it was not distracting at all for normal gameplay. The speaker quality is fine for what it is. It's not amazing, not terrible. For casual use, it works fine. I'd probably still use headphones if I cared about the game audio or media audio at all. And that's kind of the theme with the Air X overall. It's not trying to be some luxury device that has the best of everything. What it says it does really well and better than I'd expect for the cost. So yeah, I was just pleasantly surprised at every turn with this review. Just nothing to be mad about, disappointed about. Everything I came in expecting it would do, it does better. So yeah, no complaints here at all. Really, really happy with this device. So here are my final thoughts. I actually came away very impressed with the MANGMI Air X. Not because it's a Steam Deck, Legion Go, or ROG Ally replacement or anything like that. It's obviously not trying to be that. But for the price, this thing does exactly what it needs to do and does it better. And does it better than I expected. And that's really the best way I can explain it. The screen is nice, the size is perfect, the build feels solid. The joysticks are good, the buttons are pretty good, and for the systems I'd actually buy this for, the performance is good as well. And I think that's the big strength of the Air X. It knows what it is, and they know you're not buying this because you want a Steam Deck replacement. You're buying it because you want something affordable that works, feels decent, and gives you a good experience without spending a ton of money. And in that sense, I think MANGMI did a really good job here. I would definitely recommend checking out the MANGMI Air X if you're in the market for a handheld emulator. Alright guys, that's all I got for this one. I hope it was helpful. If this video helped you make a decision on a purchase, please consider using the affiliate link down below to help support the channel. Don't forget to use the promo code for an additional discount. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.